All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to explore some pretty powerful ideas about spiritual purity and enlightenment.
Sounds good.
We've got these excerpts from a discourse by Osho, and it's really fascinating. He's reflecting on the teachings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and, Osho, he's known for his kind of unique, sometimes provocative views on spirituality.
Right.
But here, he uses these vivid analogies and like real-world examples to make Guru Nanak's wisdom like really relatable.
I like that.
Yeah, and, relevant to our lives today. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing that really struck me is how Osho starts by comparing inner cleansing to something we do every day, like washing our bodies.
Oh, yeah.
He points out that, we're all pretty good at cleaning up dirt on the outside.
Right.
But what about the dust that accumulates on our minds?
Yeah, it's true. Think about how much dust kind of settles on your mind in just 24 hours.
Oh, I know.
Right. Now imagine like the accumulation over years.
Yeah.
It's like our minds become these cluttered attics filled with anxieties and judgments and just all sorts of mental baggage.
Exactly.
And, Osho really stresses that inner cleansing, it's not like a one-time spring cleaning.
Yeah.
It's got to be an ongoing process.
Right. And he makes this point that it's not as simple as just gaining more knowledge.
Yeah.
He uses this clever metaphor of having this giant key ring, like full of keys.
Oh, yeah.
But none of them can unlock the door to true transformation.
I know, right?
I don't know about you, but
Right.
I've definitely had that experience of like having all the information, but still feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm missing some crucial piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. It's like reading all those self-help books.
I know.
You're nodding along thinking like this makes total sense.
Right?
But then nothing really changes.
Nothing changes.
So it's like, what's that missing piece? What is that key that unlocks real transformation?
Well, that's where it gets even more intriguing.
Okay.
So Osho tells this story about Mullah Nasruddin. Okay.
This servant who was tasked with guarding his master's safe.
Right.
He had all the keys, but he couldn't figure out how to open it.
Oh, no.
And the master comes home, and of course he can open it easily.
Of course.
And Nasruddin asks, "Master, how did you do that?" And the master says, "Well, Nasruddin, I have the knowledge of how to use the keys."
Oh,
Right.
That's a good one.
So it highlights that just having the information isn't enough.
Yeah.
You need to understand how to apply it,
Right.
how to use it to unlock a deeper level of understanding.
That's so true.
Yeah,
It's like having a map but not knowing how to read it.
exactly.
You might have all the directions, but you'll still end up lost.
You'll still be lost.
So,
And this leads to what I find to be one of the most insightful parts of the discourse,
okay.
Osho's exploration of the fear of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that even when we consciously seek change, a part of us resists it,
Oh, that's interesting.
right? We cling to our egos.
To our familiar identities, even when they're causing us suffering.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we crave change, but we also fear it.
It's a paradox.
And I think, most of us have experienced that reluctance
Yeah.
to let go of familiar patterns,
Mm.
even when they're clearly not serving us.
For sure.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it seems like we get attached to the known,
Oh.
even if it's painful, because the unknown feels so much more threatening.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Osho shares this really poignant story about a seeker
Okay.
who reaches the door of enlightenment.
Wow.
He spent his whole life striving for this moment, and when he finally arrives,
Yeah.
he turns back, terrified of what lies beyond.
Oh, wow.
It's such a powerful image,
It is powerful. Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine achieving your ultimate goal only to realize it terrifies you,
Wow. It makes you wonder, what are we so afraid of losing?
right?
If we achieve true transformation, what part of ourselves would we have to let go of?
That's what we're going to explore in this deep dive.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Osho digs into the psychology behind this fear and how it manifests in our lives.
Okay.
And he suggests that a big part of this fear comes from our attachment to the ego,
Okay.
that sense of who we think we are.
Okay.
So,
So if fear is what's holding us back,
right.
what's the key to overcoming it and truly embracing transformation?
Well, Osho offers some powerful insights into that as well.
Okay. I
And
can't wait to hear them.
we'll get into that.
All right. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and unpack those insights.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we've talked about how fear, especially like that fear of letting go of our egos, can be a major roadblock to spiritual growth.
It's like a wall we keep bumping into.
Yeah, exactly. But what's the way around it? Like, what can we use to kind of break through that fear and really embrace transformation?
Well, Osho points to love
Okay.
as the master key.
Love.
Yeah, but he's not talking about, some sentimental hallmark version of love here.
Right, right.
He describes love as like this really powerful, transformative energy.
Okay.
Like it's the force of creation itself.
That's a big claim. So how does love, in this deeper sense, how does it connect to spiritual purity?
Well, Osho explains that sin, it's not some, active, malicious force out there.
Okay.
It's more like the absence of love.
Okay.
Like when you turn on a light,
Mm-hmm.
darkness disappears, right?
Yeah.
Sin kind of dissolves in the presence of love.
It's a pretty radical idea.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely challenges like our traditional ways of thinking about good and evil.
Yeah.
But it also makes you think, right, like if sin comes from a lack of love, then every act of wrongdoing, like whether it's stealing or lying or even just like speaking harshly to someone,
Right.
is ultimately like a cry for love.
That's a powerful way to look at it.
It is, yeah.
Makes you wonder, like, how often are we just reacting to these cries for love with more judgment and punishment
Yeah,
rather than with understanding and compassion?
it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, it really is.
So, okay, if love is like the antidote to sin, it can't just be a passive feeling, right?
Well, no, definitely not.
It has to be expressed through action.
Exactly. Osho emphasizes that love isn't passive.
Okay.
It expresses itself through action,
Okay.
even when those actions might seem negative at first glance.
Okay, so like what would be an example of that?
Well, he uses this example of a parent disciplining a child.
Okay.
On the surface, it might look like punishment,
Right.
but if it's done out of genuine love and concern for the child's well-being,
Right.
it's actually a constructive act.
So it's all about the intention behind the action,
Exactly, the intention.
not just the action itself.
Right, and he tells this fascinating Sufi story
Okay.
that really illustrates this point.
Okay.
There's this traveler, and he comes to a fork in the road,
Okay.
and he needs directions to a certain village.
Mm-hmm.
He encounters two men.
Okay.
One is known for always telling the truth.
Okay.
The other one always lies. Interestingly, they both point him down the same path.
So the action, like giving directions, is the same.
Right.
But the intentions behind it are completely different.
Totally different.
Right.
And this story really highlights how much intention matters, right?
Yeah.
Even if you do something that seems good.
Mm-hmm.
If your motivation is selfish or harmful,
Okay.
it's not really aligned with love.
It really makes you rethink things.
It does.
Like those simple ideas of good and bad or right and wrong.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes things are so much more complex than they appear.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where Osho brings in the concept of karma.
Okay.
This idea that our actions driven by our intentions, create these ripples
Okay.
that come back to us. It's like a boomerang effect, right?
Mhm.
What we send out, we get back,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's positive or negative.
What you sow is what you reap, right?
Exactly.
And it reminds me of the story Osho shares about this woman who's going through a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
And she's so consumed by resentment that she wants to make sure her husband never finds happiness. Wow. It's kind of dark.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how much, that desire to inflict pain on others
Right.
can backfire and actually just create more suffering.
Absolutely. For everyone involved.
So it seems like Osho's saying that if we want to create good karma, we got to align our actions with love,
Yeah.
even when it's really tough.
Yeah. Especially when it's tough.
But how do we actually do that? How do we shift from, those reactive fear-based patterns to a more loving way of being?
Well, Osho offers some really practical advice.
Perhaps lay it on me.
First, he suggests delaying any harmful actions.
Okay.
Give yourself at least 24 hours.
Okay, so wait a day.
Yeah, before you act on those negative impulses.
Okay.
And this pause creates a space for reflection.
Right, you can think it through.
And those initial waves of, anger or frustration,
Yeah, they can kind of subside a little.
they calm down a bit.
I could definitely relate to that.
Me too.
So often we just react in the heat of the moment and then regret it later.
Exactly. But then on the flip side,
Okay.
he suggests acting immediately on positive impulses.
Okay.
Don't overthink acts of kindness or generosity. Just do them.
I love that. Yeah, just act.
Just do it.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah. And speaking of acting on inspiration, Osho shares a story about Mahavir,
Yep.
a spiritual teacher who gave away all of his possessions
Wow.
in a moment of pure generosity.
That's amazing.
It's incredibly inspiring, right?
Yeah, it really is.
But what I find even more intriguing is
Yeah.
Osho's emphasis on going beyond those outer forms of spirituality,
Yep.
beyond the rigid rituals and practices.
Okay.
He talks about namak rang,
Namak rang. Okay.
which refers to like the transformative power of devotion,
Okay.
but it goes beyond any kind of formal religious practice.
This sounds interesting, but I gotta admit, I'm not totally clear on what namak rang actually is.
Sure, yeah.
How would you describe it?
Well, Osho describes it as cultivating this awareness of the divine in every moment of your life.
Okay.
It's about seeing the divine spark in every person you meet, in every tree you pass,
Okay.
in every grain of sand on the beach.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah, but how does that translate into everyday life?
Well,
Could you give an example of how someone might actually embody that in their actions and interactions?
sure, Osho says it's not about reciting prayers or performing ceremonies.
Yeah.
It's about infusing your entire being with that awareness,
Okay.
allowing it to inform every action, every thought, every word you speak.
Yeah.
So imagine approaching every interaction, even the most mundane,
Yeah.
with that sense of reverence and connection.
Okay.
That's namak rang in action.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's about embodying that sense of sacredness
exactly.
in every part of our lives.
Right. But I have a feeling there's still a big obstacle
Yeah.
standing in the way of most people achieving that state.
Yeah. What is it?
Well, we've talked about fear as an obstacle, right?
But Osho points to something even more fundamental.
Oh, okay.
The ego.
The ego.
Yeah, he says that the ego is the ultimate barrier
The ultimate barrier.
to experiencing the divine.
Wow. Okay.
And he uses this beautiful metaphor of a lover
Okay.
knocking on the beloved's door,
Mm-hmm.
but the door won't open
Why not?
because the lover is still clinging to his sense of
Okay.
He's still trapped in his separate self,
Mm-hmm.
his ego.
Okay.
And that very separation
Yeah.
prevents him from merging with the beloved.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right.
It's only when the lover lets go of that separate sense of self, that ego,
Exactly.
that he can actually experience that unity, that
Yes.
oneness.
The merging.
But how do we dismantle the ego? It sounds like a pretty tough fortress to break down.
It is. Osho doesn't offer any easy solutions,
Right.
but he does point us in the right direction.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of questioning everything we think we are.
Okay, so like breaking down those assumptions. Exactly. It's about peeling back those layers of conditioning and belief.
Right. The stuff that makes up our sense of self.
Right. It's like that Rumi quote.
Yeah. What is it?
Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there.
I love that. Come
It's
on.
about transcending those limitations
Yeah.
of our mental constructs,
Right. Like our judgments and labels.
and stepping into that open space of pure being.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's a beautiful way to put it.
And this is where meditation comes in, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's about cultivating that awareness
Mm,
of the space between our thoughts,
yes.
the stillness beneath all that mental chatter.
It's not just about relaxation or stress reduction.
Right.
It's about becoming the observer,
Mm-hmm.
witnessing those thoughts and emotions
Yeah.
without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. So as we practice that detachment,
Yeah.
we start to realize those thoughts and emotions aren't who we really are.
Right, they're just passing phenomena. It's not about erasing the ego completely.
Right.
It's more about shifting our relationship to it,
Oh.
recognizing it as like a tool, a
Mhm.
part of our human experience,
Mhm.
but not the thing that defines who we are.
So as we loosen the grip of the ego,
Right.
we become more open
Yes.
to that flow of love,
To that
to
connection.
that interconnectedness with everything.
Exactly.
And that brings us to what I think is Osho's most thought-provoking statement.
What's that?
He says, "Those who believe they are something cannot sleep in the presence of the divine."
Wow, that's powerful.
What does he mean by that?
It's a metaphor for complete surrender,
Okay.
like letting go of all attachments,
Okay.
even the attachment to our own spiritual identities.
So even if we reach a certain level of understanding,
Yeah.
we can still get stuck
We can get stuck in that identity.
thinking I'm enlightened or I'm a meditator.
Right. Those labels become new attachments.
And those attachments, even the subtle ones, they still create a barrier
They do,
between us and the divine.
Osho seems to be saying it's about continuously letting go,
Okay.
emptying ourselves so we can be filled with the infinite.
It's like that Zen saying, right?
What's that?
Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
It's about living in that constant state of openness.
Yeah, without clinging to any fixed ideas
Yeah, just be.
about who we are or what we've achieved.
Right. And this is where Osho's take on Guru Nanak's teachings is so relevant.
Yeah.
It's not about chasing some distant future state of perfection.
Okay.
It's about recognizing the divine
Yeah.
in every single moment.
Right here, right now.
And every action and every interaction.
It's about living with that namak rang,
Exactly.
that awareness of the divine that permeates everything.
Yes, and it's not always easy.
Right.
We're going to stumble, we're going to fall back into old patterns.
Yeah.
But the key is to keep practicing.
Keep showing up.
Keep cultivating that awareness.
Yeah.
Keep returning to that state of love and connection.
Because ultimately, that's what really cleanses us,
Yeah,
right?
that's what unlocks the door.
That's the key to spiritual transformation.
It is, and Osho's insights give us a roadmap
Yeah, they
for this journey.
He manages to take these really, profound spiritual concepts
I know, right?
and make them feel so accessible and relatable.
Yeah, he does.
It's not just about, understanding them intellectually.
Right.
It's about actually living them.
Embodying them.
Yeah, and that's where the real work begins.
That's where the magic happens.
It's about recognizing those moments in our daily lives
Yeah, those little moments.
where we have the opportunity to choose love over fear.
Right, to act from compassion instead of judgment.
It's about all those tiny choices we make throughout the day.
Yeah, those little things.
Like when someone cuts you off in traffic,
Yeah.
do you react with patience or
Well, that's it.
irritation?
Do you lay on the horn?
Do you offer a kind word to a stranger?
Or do you just keep to yourself?
Those small choices, when we make them consciously,
You
they start to change everything.
They shift our whole way of being.
It creates like a ripple effect,
It does, yeah.
not just in our own lives, but for everyone around us.
And it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's about progress, not perfection.
We're all going to stumble. We're all going to fall.
Yeah.
But the key is to keep getting back up.
To keep practicing.
Keep remembering that awareness.
Yeah. And to be kind to ourselves along the way.
It's like learning to ride a bike,
Yeah.
You're going to fall off a few times,
Right.
but eventually you find your balance.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel that joy and freedom.
That's a great analogy.
And it highlights how important self-compassion is,
Yeah. You got to be kind to yourself.
especially on this journey. you know.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate even those small wins.
Every step forward.
Yeah, because this is a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
It's about uncovering that divine spark within us
That light within.
and letting it shine brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
And that's what's so beautiful about Osho's interpretation of Guru Nanak's teachings.
I agree.
He reminds us that the path to spiritual purity and enlightenment,
Yeah.
it's not about looking for something outside ourselves.
It's about looking within,
It's about recognizing the truth that's already there inside us.
waiting to be unveiled.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to start your own journey.
Your own journey of transformation.
Yeah, to cultivate love and awareness and that namak rang
That presence of the divine.
in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
And as you move through your day, we leave you with this final thought-provoking question from Osho.
I love these questions.
If you really truly desire spiritual purity, are you willing to let go of everything you believe yourself to be?
It's something to sit with.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how Osho takes these really complex spiritual teachings
I know, right?
and makes them so practical.
Yeah, he does.
Like something we can actually use in our lives.
Totally. And it's not just about understanding it all in our heads, you know?
Right, like it's one thing to talk about inner cleansing and the power of love and all that,
Exactly.
but it's another thing to actually live it.
yeah, to put it into practice in our daily lives.
That's where the real work begins.
That's where the transformation happens.
Yeah, and it's about noticing those little moments,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
where we can choose love over fear.
Right, those everyday choices.
Yeah, like those tiny little decisions we make all day long.
Exactly, like those little things add up, you know?
They do. It's like, okay, someone cuts you off in traffic.
Yeah.
You can get all irritated.
Honk the horn.
Or you're going to be like, hey, it's okay. No worries.
Let it go.
Or like, do you smile at a stranger?
Right. Or do you just walk by?
All those little things.
They make a difference.
Yeah. And when you make those choices consciously,
Mm-hmm.
like over and over again,
It starts to shift things.
it changes your whole way of being.
Your whole energy.
Yeah. And it creates this ripple effect, right?
Mhm.
It does. Not just in your life, but like out into the world.
It affects everyone around us.
Yeah. And Osho talks about that interconnectedness
Mm. We're all connected.
and realizing like even our smallest actions
Yeah.
have an impact.
That matter.
Yeah. And it's not about being perfect all the time.
Oh, no, not at all.
We're all human.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, it's about progress.
Not perfection.
We're going to mess up. We're going to fall back into old patterns.
We're going to fall down.
But the important thing is to just keep getting back up.
Keep going, keep learning.
And be kind to yourself along the way.
Self-compassion is key.
Yeah, it really is. It's like learning to ride a bike, you know?
Yeah, I love that analogy.
You're going to fall a few times.
You're going to get scraped knees.
But eventually you find your balance.
And then you're off.
And you experience that freedom and that joy.
It's a beautiful thing.
And this whole journey, it's about self-discovery.
It is.
It's about uncovering that divine spark that's already inside us.
That inner light.
And letting it shine brighter and brighter.
And that's the beauty of Osho's message, you know?
Yeah. What is it?
He's reminding us that spiritual purity and enlightenment, it's not about finding something outside of ourselves.
It's about recognizing the truth that's already within.
Yeah, it's always been there.
Just waiting to be unveiled.
And so to our listener, we hope this deep dive has inspired you
to start your own journey,
to cultivate love and awareness,
and that namakarang,
that sense of the divine in everything.
In every aspect of your life.
Yeah, and as you go about your day.
We'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question from Osho.
All right, hit us with it.
If you truly desire spiritual purity, are you willing to let go of everything you believe yourself to be?
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you.
Please like, share and subscribe.